Hello everyone, and welcome to my talk on secure coding education in the industry, an investigation through a large-scale survey. My name is Tiago Gasiba, and I'm a security consultant at Siemens in Munich, and I'm also a PhD candidate at the Universität der Bundeswehr in München, Germany. This work was done in cooperation with Professor Dr. Ulrike Lechner from the Universität der Bundeswehr in München, Germany, Professor Dr. Maria Pinto-Albuquerque from the Instituto Universitário de Lisboa in Portugal, and Professor Dr. Daniel Mendez from the Blekinge Institute of Technology in Sweden. Let's start with the motivation. The graph on the top left corner shows that the number of industrial control system alerts issued by the Department of Homeland Security over the last 10 years has been steadily increasing. This number relates to the widely known cybersecurity incidents such as Stuxnet, Havex, Black Energy, and that related to Triton malware. According to a study by Patel and al., with more than 4,000 software developers, more than 50% of them cannot spot vulnerabilities in software. This causes a problem not only for companies but also for society in general. Also, according to recurring articles in the news, software developers keep making the same cybersecurity mistakes over and over. A report from 2010 by the Department of Homeland Security claims that more than 90% of security incidents is caused by poor software architecture and quality. A study from 2014 by IBM states that human errors account for 95% of security incidents. So, what are the main causes of security vulnerabilities? In 2020, Veracode performed a study where it has found that the number one cause of software vulnerabilities is due to insecure coding practices. In the industry, secure coding practices translates and is related to secure coding guidelines. Over the last years, we have been designing a serious game, the Cybersecurity Challenge, to raise awareness of software developers in the industry in the topic of secure coding. The current study is embedded in our design of this serious game. In this study, we are interested in understanding the current situation in terms of awareness of secure coding guidelines in order to understand how to improve its awareness. We are interested in the factors that lead software developers to comply or not comply to secure coding guidelines. Also, to which degree software developers are aware of secure coding guidelines, and finally, to which extent is secure coding in the industry needed. We base our work on four main theories. The concept of awareness by Bench et al., which defines awareness as being composed of perception, protection, and behavior. Perception is related to knowing existing threats, protection is related to knowing existing mechanisms, and behavior is related to the actual acting. Additional theories include policy compliance by Burgurso et al. And Moody et al., neutralization theory by Siponen et al., and security-related stress by Darcy et al. Policy compliance looks at factors that lead to compliance or non-compliance of policies. Neutralization relates to the factors that software developers use to justify non-compliance. And security-related stress relates to stress factors that contribute to non-compliance. To answer our questions, we have designed a survey directed at software developers in the industry. Extensive discussions on the design of the survey can be found in a previous publication. In this work, we look at the design survey, which was placed online. We advertised the survey in several channels, such as professional contact, social media, and others. The survey was advertised internationally. The survey was online from March 2020 to September 2020, about 7 months. We have obtained 363 hits, of which 194 were completed surveys. The data was collected anonymously and the participants were aware of the research being conducted. About half of the participants have a background in C++, 20% in Java, and 19% in Python. In terms of policy compliance, our results show that the reasons for non-compliance include lack of time, and the fact that secure coding guidelines makes writing software more difficult. Reasons to disregard secure coding guidelines include that the software developer is considering guidelines as being unreasonable and the fact that it will not cause harm to the customer. Stress factors include constant changes in technology and the generation of more work than the developer can handle. Interestingly, the number one reason to use secure coding guidelines is also the same as for not using them. That is, when secure coding guidelines are a requirement in the project. This gives an indication of process issues. Also, software developers claim to ignore secure coding due to a focus on products and not security. Another important reason is the fact that software developers have a limited knowledge on secure coding. In terms of awareness, the construct that has obtained the highest score was protection. That is, software developers claim to be aware of possible consequences that can result from exploiting vulnerabilities in code. However, only about 50% claim to have awareness in relation to perception and behavior. That is, that they can recognize vulnerabilities and that they can actually write secure code. However, according to our experience in cybersecurity, we think that our numbers are showing optimism bias. In fact, we think that the current situation is that more than 50% cannot recognize vulnerabilities and are not writing secure code, in line with the study by Patel and al. Our empirical study suggests that software developers lack awareness on secure coding guidelines. One effective way to improve this is through training and education. Based on all the results obtained throughout the survey, our experience in teaching software developers in the industry, and also discussions that were held together with 3 additional security experts, we have concluded on several actionable items. The following list shows 3 items out of 15 that we are proposing in our work. First, we propose to implement awareness training on secure coding guidelines for software developers in the industry, example through awareness campaigns. Our survey suggests that while explaining secure coding guidelines to software developers, the focus should be given on the general concepts of the vulnerabilities. We also propose our serious game, the cybersecurity challenges, which has been used and is studied extensively in the industry to raise awareness on secure coding guidelines. Another important topic that arises in the survey are process issues. We conclude that management should be sensitized to the topic of secure coding and define a responsible person, for example, a security champion. Also, awareness should be reasoned on company internal policies and guidelines, and security should be considered at early stages of project development, example, in the requirements phase. Finally, our survey shows that software developers consider that they are following secure coding guidelines when they are using static code analysis tools. However, these tools do not replace the know-how of developers and, according to previous studies, can even result in false positives and false negatives. Therefore, we propose additionally to build or to join a secure coding community that can assist in this aspect. Example, SafeCode. In summary, we have seen that the number of cybersecurity incidents is on the rise, and the root cause can partially be tracked back to secure coding issues. We consider the human factor as an important component of achieving a good level of secure coding. We conducted an online survey to understand why software developers comply or do not comply to secure coding guidelines. Our study is embedded in a design science research being conducted in the industry. We conclude on the lack of awareness of secure coding guidelines by software developers in the industry and on the need to raise awareness on secure coding. Our main contributions are on the factors that lead to a lack of compliance to secure coding guidelines, a list of actionable items based on our experience, together with discussions with additional security experts. And we also propose cybersecurity challenges to address the lack of awareness of secure coding guidelines by software developers in the industry. Thank you for listening to our talk. In case you have any questions, please do not hesitate to drop me an email. Thank you and bye.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to the first the QA of the first paper of this session this morning. We have here Tiago, who is available for discussing and answering any issue about the paper. So please feel free to write your questions in the chat, and we will be happy to discuss them. So in the meanwhile, Tiago, I have a couple of comments that maybe I can start with. So the first one is you are done this study in order to identify the need for security knowledge in practitioners in industry. So that means that when students finish the university, the bachelor or probably their master, they don't have this knowledge. So what do you think? Do you think that it would be worth to provide this knowledge from the university, from the bachelor and master program? So when young practitioners arrive to the university, they already have some knowledge that can be applicable then?
Yes. So can you hear me?
Yes,
hope
yes.
so. Okay, good.
Yes.
Yeah. So yes, you are absolutely right. We are currently also working together with universities to address this issue. So we are developing a serious game, which is the topic of my PhD thesis. This serious game is used to raise awareness on secure coding. It's being developed in the industry, but it's also being studied at universities. The thing is, this is awareness is a continuous topic, so it's not only that it needs to be addressed during bachelor's, but also continuously during the career. So we notice I have some work where we study the lack also of knowledge on students coming from universities, and we also say that okay, this it might be good that this lack of knowledge is also addressed there. But we also notice that colleagues which are working for many years in the industry, they gain some specific ways of developing software, let's say, that might not be the most appropriate, and software is evolving with time, and therefore it should also be it's a continuous process. So but yes, at the university, this is also one point that needs to be addressed.
Okay. We have one question from Maria that is related to this topic. She says, can you briefly tell about the game simulation you mentioned? It is same at professionals, or would it be suitable for students, and which level of students?
Yeah, so thanks. Actually, today I'm in two conferences in parallel. I'm also presenting the game in a separate, which so it's the ICPAC conference. So the game is available as open source component, and it's also for undergraduates. So it's you have a web interface where you have some challenges in the C or C++ programming language or other programming language. So the student can press the button, and they can get feedback in terms of the problems in vulnerabilities in the code and cybersecurity. The platform that I've developed, as I said, it's currently available as open source, and if you are interested, I think it's either in the link in the paper, or if you search for previous publications from me, you will quickly come to a link where you can download the paper. Otherwise, you can contact me directly.
Okay, good. Thank you. Then I had another comment. You mentioned about the awareness campaigns. It's one of your actionable items that you mentioned in the paper, and you discuss in the paper. So the question is, who should be the target of these campaigns? Because as far as I understand, in the paper, they should be addressed for developers. But I think that managers and software project managers from software project managers, I mean, or the management of the department of the organization should also be aware of the relevance of security and also the cost. Because it has an extra cost to provide software with security requirements. So they should also be awareness of this in order to allocate the proper resources when developing software. So what do you think about this?
So yes, you are absolutely right. I would say that anyone dealing with any kind of information systems, which is like everyone nowadays, that works in a company, should have awareness on cybersecurity. In terms of the game that I was just explaining a minute ago, we also had managers participating in this game, and they also find it very valuable to participate in that game. Actually, there was one interesting thing that occurred. It's a side note on your question, which was that some managers actually won some games, and some software developers, they became frustrated because they think inside their own boxes, and managers were working outside of their boxes. Which led to very interesting conclusion that putting together management and software developers results in the best combination. But yes, you're absolutely right. So those things. So management needs to be involved in cybersecurity. It's not only the pressure that they notice on the coming standards that require secure coding guidelines, the usage of secure coding guidelines in the industry, but it's also that they need to know where their teams stand at. So they need to motivate also towards their managers. It goes up the stairs, let's say, and they need to realize why is it important to keep software developers happy. As one paper from Grazio team says, so happy developers produce better code. So keeping your software developers happy is one thing that managers need to do, and to understand what needs to be done in order to achieve that. And so awareness campaigns is one of the ways of doing that. Serious games with a little bit of a fun factor. And even participating in those kinds of games, managers themselves become more aware. And I had already the direct feedback from managers saying, "Oh, now I see the difficulties that my teams go through. So now I understand them, and now I can support them much better." Because they for some time they took their seat and their role, and they could see the hardship that they endured during the day.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, any other comment or question from the audience? Please feel free to write them down. We still have 1.5 minutes. Is there any complement that you would like to add? Any other comment that you would like to add, Tiago, apart from your presentation that is very short?
No, it's maybe just to say that I've been working for the last years together with Professor Ulrike Lechner and Professor Maria Pinto-Albuquerque. We have published quite a few papers in this area, especially on the serious game, and I invite people to have a look at the work that we have published. And if there is anything that we are also trying to raise awareness on how to raise awareness. So so if you have some direct questions, you can also come to me and ask about, and you can have a look at literature that we have been publishing over the last years.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you very much. We have almost finished the time. So if somebody is interested to chat with Tiago, please connect to the discussion room. Okay. So thank you, Tiago, for the presentation, and thank you for the discussion, and thank you for the audience. Okay.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day then.
You too. Bye bye. Have a nice day.
Bye bye. Bye.
Bye.